same problem that you have. There, the parts, there must be a portion that you have left the human parts behind, and you have not yet taken up the Bardo being's parts. Within that time, what's happening? There's nothing there. If, you know, and it's these analyses, or analysis, that are supposed to force you to look at your own mind, and see how, you know, look at your whole, in deep meditation, understand how both you and your phenomenon are. Because logically they ain't existent the way that they appear, and the way that Lord Buddha taught them in the first turning of the wheel ain't possible. And ain't possible for a living being to go from one life to one life to one life the way that we normally understand that living being as having some kind of essence. Only if that living being is a dependently originated mere appearance being forced on them by their past karma, shifting perception constantly. Would one moment I'm a human, and then due to my karma there's a shift in my perception, and the next moment, bam, I'm in a house, you know, with a bone in my mouth. Totally plausible. If there was an inherently, my teacher used to call it the Acme soul company, putting souls into an inherently existent soul or driver into an inherently existent form, you know, stuffing little ghosts into forms. If things were worked that way, it wouldn't function. Reincarnation, past and future lives, ain't happening. Because if things can hold an essence, they don't change. It's commonly understood in Buddhist philosophy that when the proper causes and conditions come together, then you have phenomenon, and when they're expended, then that thing no longer exists. And it's a big debate on how that process works. Ultimately, Master Nagarjuna would say that for you, causation doesn't exist inherently, and that's a big debate about that. I mean, you can almost reduce morality if you go down a certain way with that sort of logic. It's like dependent origination of dependent origination, or the emptiness of emptiness. It's a very touchy debate. Because it's not, Master Nagarjuna would make statements that all phenomenon lack inherent existence, that emptiness is even empty, and still hold to the point that, of course, morality. He repeatedly said that if you only understood that if, as you crushed a bug, that your own torso would be crushed, then you get this whole karma thing. But you just don't get the lag time. You know, there's just time in between when you do a deed that you get the ramifications. The Majjhimaka Prasangika don't really explain it too well, probably not good enough for Western scholars, but they basically say that you go through your life and you're putting mental impressions in your mental continuum. Depending on the types of emotion as you're performing the deeds, they accrue to either, and the type of knowledge that you have in your mental continuum, you will either suffer or you won't. And that doesn't really, you know, play out for most people who want to split hairs. You know, not really satisfying. Like when I asked a Lama, well, how do you get rid of that? I asked, if I have countless lifetimes of negative karma, and if this negative karma has conditioned the way in which I perceive my reality, it is nearly impossible for me to pull myself up out of that negative behavior. If I'm ignorant, countless lifetime of bad deeds and mental afflictions, even the way in which I see my reality and the way I react to everything is hopelessly tweaked by this bad mojo. And he's like, well, you just got to sort of wear on your past habituation like you would a knot on a tree. I'm like, well, that's not really a technical answer from a High Lama. This was over in the monastery 10 years ago in India. You just wear it down like a I don't even know what it's called, like a knot in a branch of a. You sort of work at your past bad karma. You just keep on wearing it down. And I didn't really get it until I thought about how I used to wear down my mother when I was a kid. Like, if I wanted something like a treat, I could very one-pointedly wear at that woman's resolve for days, to the point where either she beat me or give me the thing. So then I got it, like, you just have to. But what I was actually, it was a more subtler question, and it's defeatist. And how can you even bring yourself to do a good thing when you have countless lifetimes of bad habituation? The ability, and people who have suffered from drug addiction, or any kind of addiction, football addiction or whatever, and they've sworn off it, can relate to it. Like, how can you actually bring yourself to do a thing when you have countless lifetimes of bad deeds and mental afflictions? It's like crazy, you know? And that's what my teacher would say, well, that's why you need a teacher. You know, and you bring all those problems to him, nicely. The power of your teacher, the power of your guru. If there were the slightest thing not empty, there would be that much emptiness existent. Since, however, there is not the slightest thing not empty, how could emptiness exist? Here they're talking about the emptiness of emptiness. And this is far beyond my abilities to try to articulate the emptiness of emptiness. You might want to look up the ninth Karmapa's teaching on Mahamudra, but only if a qualified Lama allows you to. Emptiness is a mere lack of, it's like a non-affirming negative. It's some Buddhist schools posit it as an affirming negative. Some Tibetan traditions do that. It's a simple lack of a thing that was never there. It never will be there. It's just like, my teacher used to say, it's just like a 45-foot pink elephant stuffed into this room. It ain't there. It's not like things were self-existent, did have an essence, and then something happened, the gods spoke, and then things were empty. Things were always this way. And it's this crazy delusion that you have that forces you to grasp at yourself, your stuff, and other people as having some kind of essence, and holding to them within your mind in a certain way, which causes all of your suffering. Oh yeah, and Tsongkhapa makes the statement that if emptiness were a positive phenomenon, then similarly, then you'd have to say that the basis of emptiness, like this table has an emptiness. Its emptiness is the fact that it's dependent upon my mental perception of it. Tsongkhapa says if my perceptions have an self-existence to it, then you have to say that that table, at the base of it, has an existence. But we're claiming here that it's totally plausible that this table has a lack of inherent existence, and my perception of it is empty. This table is empty. I am my perception, my own mental continuum. My mental continuum is empty. All of them are dependently originated mere appearances, and plausible. They function. If one of them had a dependent relationship on the other, which existed in a self-existent, unchanging manner, it's not plausible. It's not. What's the debate term? It's not tenable. Love that one.